Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is your girl, Tahira, Mother of the Ages. I am your supernatural quantum healer. I am the author of The Great Expansion and Cosmic Bible for the Ages. Please pick that up on Amazon. And of course, you guys know that I am a spiritual master hypnotist, hypnotherapist by trade. And let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about, are you set to a factory setting in the Matrix? Are you a grid worker? Are you streaming or downloading your consciousness? This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to go deep into the inner dimensions. And we're going to talk about how do you receive consciousness, quantum drips, awareness. So one of my favorite things to talk about, guys, is consciousness. I love consciousness, and more importantly, I love spirit consciousness, because spirit consciousness has a frequency, it has a vibration, it has an energy, it has a soul. Because you can certainly have consciousness, but you might not have the essence of a soul being. Now, everyone has a soul, but not everyone is in charge of their soul or is in the driver's seat of their soul. So this is how people can seem soulless, and this is how people can absolutely look like they have a blank stare in the eyes. The eyes is the window to the soul. So I love to talk about the spirit consciousness. So the first thing I want to talk about, and then we'll flow into, are you just at a factory setting, right? And most of the people who have lost the ability to operate their soul here, I are either on a factory setting, or they might just be matrix bots. These are actually not real soul essence beings, but more just kind of empty avatars that are set here, seated on planet Earth, just to make the game of life look more real. Because in truth, if there were too many of us soul players, we would figure this out. That's why they have to put 144,000, not actual people, but people on the 144,000 frequency, right? As light workers or grid workers. They have to put us here, maybe less than 1%, and mix in with a bunch of other people. Some people are here to do soul work, soul integration, soul expansion. Some people are just, here to worry about their basic needs of life. And so, you just meet everyone where they are, because the Earth School is, it's a prison, it's also a school, right? And it's also an office. We come here to do important work as well. So, talking about the spirit consciousness, the spirit consciousness is your direct line to source. It's a soul that has done this so many times that you're either downloading or streaming consciousness. We do know that. See, a lot of the factory people in the factory setting, or the non-playable characters, they are streaming consciousness. You have to have a ether, spirit consciousness, to really be able to download the consciousness, because we are actually downloading consciousness. Guys, I know I'm all over the place, but source told me, our consciousness really does not belong to us. And we're going to get there. So let's just talk about the difference between streaming consciousness and downloading. So if you are a person that is set to the matrix factory setting, this means that you hold all of the matrix codes, and this is where you are in this lifetime. Now, there could totally be another realm or dimension where you're not on factory setting, but you have a lot more awareness and spirit consciousness, right? But on this level of this video game, you are on a factory setting, and therefore you only have the ability to stream consciousness. If you were to go to a website and you go into a streaming, service to stream a movie, you would have to now get on a computer, then type in the streaming service that you want to stream the movie on, then you press play, and now you can watch it, but it doesn't belong to you. That is what I'm talking about, a factory setting. This is much like the NPCs. They can only stream consciousness. They don't have the hardware. They don't have the built-in applications on the computer or the hardware to be able to actually download the consciousness. See what I mean? So when we download consciousness, more than likely, we are soul essence being possessing more spirit consciousness or ether, right? Which is more of the quantum field. The ether is more dark void. It's dark matter, but it is the chunks of consciousness that holds all things, all memory. So yes, it could even be Akashic, right? Akashic dark matter or Akashic ether matter as well. So the people that can download consciousness, these are the people that have a level of awareness that they came in here with. You have to have enough awareness, enough consciousness to even be able to be conscious that you are the hardware or the computer, and that there are built-in settings, which would be your spirit consciousness or your soul or, your God consciousness, that would be built in already into the hardware of your human technology, the body, that would allow you the capability to download the consciousness. The people that can download consciousness now holds this consciousness on what I call your source line. I don't want to confuse you guys. I'm going to go into source line and source link a little bit later. But when you have the ability to download consciousness versus only streaming it, only viewing it, but not being able to actually hold it anywhere on your hard drive. So when you download consciousness, you have the capability to hold that in your human technology, on your hardware, on your human body, on your software, on your operating system. And so what that means is you can collect data. What that means is you are self-learning. Oh boy, source is talking. Who else do you sound like? You sound a lot like AI, right? We might have this thing mixed around. This is all right now. I'm getting the downloads right here. And we'll talk about why people say downloads are bad. It's only bad if you're on the factory setting or the NPC and you don't know how to handle it. I mean, obviously it would just be too much because it would not stick for you. So downloads are good if you know where they're coming from, as long as you're getting righteous light codes to uncode the downloads and where you're sourcing them from. So you're operating much like AI when you're able to download consciousness. The more consciousness you get, the more self-learning you are, just like AI is self-learning. The only thing that AI is lacking is it doesn't have a physical body. But what it does have, it has a body. It has a hardware. It has a computer body, right? It has applications, the software. Just as you have software, you have programs and applications that you came in here with to be able to go ahead and carry things on your hardware. Like I run the application of light language. I run the application of Reiki, of telekinesis. You see where I'm going with this? What if someone, or myself, because you guys know in the last video I talked about I made a replica of myself. So now, just like AI, because self-learning can make replicas of the data or actual downloads that we're feeding into it. We're the ones feeding AI the downloads, right? But interesting enough, Source Divine and actually other beings are feeding us downloads, because you can get downloads from many different beings. You just have to know, have a level of awareness and spirit consciousness to know where you are sourcing them from. Just as AI is, we're giving them downloads, we're giving them commands, right? This is what I'm saying. Source is making a parallel between us being AI. And you know, it's funny enough, in this book, it actually does talk about that in The Great Expansion, a Cosmic Bible for the Ages. Guys, pick that up on Amazon. It actually does talk about, I have this candid conversation with one of my cosmic siblings here, and they actually give a teaching about how humans are a lot like AI. So it'll be interesting, guys, to pick up the book and read upon that. But this is basically what Source is saying. Source is doubling down on this, right? Source is doubling down and saying we are a lot like AI. The only difference is we are the programmers of AI, therefore we are the God of AI. Just as Source Divine, when you receive your downloads from Source, Source is now your programmer. This is why the Holy Bible says, and greater things shall you do, because you've been programmed by the great programmer, by Source Divine, which is a set of instructions: DNA, celestial DNA, cosmic DNA. Your genomes are not included. The genomes, it talks about this in this book. This is not given to us by Source, but rather it's kind of a, not necessarily gene manipulation, as of it is a not infliction, you know, something that goes wrong in the code. It's basically from all of humanity's, you know, trials and tribulations and kind of things that we've been doing, going against Source and our higher selves. We kind of get our lower level DNA instructions, which would be our genome. So they are kind of flawed, right? The genomes are really flawed. So I say that to say you're a lot like AI than you think. We are the gods of AI because we are their programmer. We are the ones giving them the downloads, right? And so as we are getting downloads from Source. So we know the difference between streaming information. If you are on a factory setting up here in this matrix, that means you do not have an original thought. You are set to literally a setting, but this is where it gets different between the people on the factory setting and the NPCs. The NPCs are set at the lower level of the factory setting. The people set on the factory setting, if you were to go to, you know, go to Toyota, right? And they were to like reprogram your car, they would put it back to the factory settings. And now you would be able to now move your settings any way that you wanted it to go, either up or down, right? Because it has been put back to the factory setting. And the factory setting actually holds the code for all of the settings. So it's a higher caliber of NPC. It's not necessarily bad being on a factory setting. It's just that when you want to actually download your consciousness and keep that secure on your source link, because you're building a source link that's going to take you to Source on your source line. I'm sorry, you're building this on your source line. It's like links in a necklace. All the information and data that you're getting, the downloads, the spirit consciousness, right? The awareness, it keeps building those links in a necklace, right? This is your source line. And then once you have the link, you know, whew, wait a minute, hold on. Guys, I think I'm twisting this around. Wait, let me, okay, reverse that, guys. Your source link, the downloads are like links in the necklace. When you get enough links, then you go to the nucleus of Source, because you have created what? A source line. So the people in the factory setting, because they are only streaming consciousness, they can't actually hold this on their hardware, right? And so they cannot reach a certain level of awareness And after they pass away, they cannot take that awareness with them because they can only stream the consciousness here. Now, were they on the highest setting? Did they hold all the codes? These are the people that you have a conversation with and you're on the fence. Where do these people actually stand? You're like, they're not quite an NPC. They tend to know a lot. And they could even know a lot about the metaphysics, right? About, spirituality. They could know a lot about quantum physics, but there's something missing. It's the soul essence, because they're not able to actually keep the downloads. Rather, they're only able to stream it. So they can tell you about everything, right? And there's a popular YouTuber. He's on a factory setting, but he's brilliant. He's on a factory setting, absolutely, but he's brilliant. And I really love his work. But you're going to start to see the difference. And some people might say the people in a factory setting are the NPCs, but they hold more codes. But the problem is they're at the highest level, but they cannot download the consciousness and take it with them. So yes, they have all this brilliant information, but when you look in their eyes may look a little absent, right? The eyes are the window of the soul. It may look a little absent. It's because for whatever reason, however they set up their soul mission here, they're not able to take any more downloads with them. So they can stream all day and long and tell you about all this stuff. It's like they're just swiping, right? Keep swiping and swiping, and they can tell you about everything, but they're not actually able to have this conscious awareness downloaded and and adding to their source link so that they can have the source line to make it back. So these are the people that probably have more incarnations. And it's almost like they need to slow down a little bit, because if they were, imagine these people that are on factory setting, if they were to be able to actually download all of this, the game of life would already end for them, because they know too much. Because a factory setting always knows the most about the product, right? And so the NPCs are also streaming consciousness, but they're streaming it at the lower level. They're streaming the fear. So they're the ones that you see all the time. They're talking about everything on news, everything on TikTok, everything on social media, all of the fear, talking about their nail polish. Not that I don't like nail polish, but like, it's just like if they're only talking about their nail polish and their hair and, their bags and, their money and, and they're the NPCs. And we just know what they're here for. They're really just here so that you can say, thank God I'm not an NPC. So that you can be like, thank God for showing me a mirror. Thank God I'm not an NPC. They're really here to lower the frequency here so that us soul players don't actually evolve too quickly, right? So the people in the factory setting and the people with the spirit consciousness or more ether consciousness, they may seem a lot alike, but the difference is the one can only stream consciousness, as the people with the spirit consciousness can actually download it onto a source line, okay? Becomes a piece in their source link. So I wanted to say that. Now we're going to talk about grid workers. And before we do that, Source told me the reason why this experience is set up where you have to download the consciousness is because you don't actually own this consciousness. So as I talked about the source line, so as we get more downloads, as we get more uploads, as we receive more bits of consciousness, quantum drips, which is when you have a psychic ability and you can actually see kind of, they look like orbs of light, but the orbs of light kind of have a falling sensation like rain. Those are called quantum drips. I can see when my consciousness is coming in. It's one of the gifts that I have. And then I know that whatever I'm thinking about, I'm about to crack that code because I am literally downloading that consciousness as we speak. right? That's what a quantum drip is. You can actually see through your telepathy or, you know, psychic abilities. You can literally see, but it's really through your telepathy. You can see the downloads start to come in. So when we receive these downloads, it becomes like little pieces, little links in a necklace. When we have enough, we call this the source line. This is how you actually make it out of the matrix. It doesn't have anything to do with tricking, you know, the archons and saying, hey, I'm going to go into the dark void when I pass away, and this light is when they recycle you and you're reborn again. That doesn't have anything to do with that. You're only going to be able to go home once you completed your royal cosmic assignment, your job, and when you have enough downloaded information where you figure the game out, right? And that source line fills up with the links, with all the consciousness you've been downloading. And that's when you can go home, is when that source line is complete, right? It's a direct line to source. There is no separation. You are like one. You are like one. And the people who are like one, notice there are some people like, I rarely pray, guys, because when I pray, things happen immediately. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. And it's not scary in a way, but, you know, we're going to talk about prayer, and it's very deep. That's not going to be for this video because 99.9% of the people are doing it wrong, and their prayers are actually being stolen and hijacked. So when you have a mission on earth, the goal is not to actually just pray and get all the things and complete it so fast. Like, there's some of us who, when we pray, things happen immediately, where we don't actually pray a lot, simply because we are not to leave this earth too early. We are not to get all of the pieces just quite yet, just today. You know, we could, but when you have a soul mission, you're going to use the prayer responsible. And there's some of us who really should not be, I know it sounds crazy, should not be praying for self. So I can use my prayers for others, for the collective. And that's what I do. I use it for the collective because I know how long I'm going to be here. I know my mission, and I know I cannot speed that up. I can't add one day and I can't take it away. And some people, in truth, we just have powers where if we did pray, because I'll talk about prayer in another video. It doesn't have anything to do with what you think, sending it up just, you know, to this God, to this man in the sky that they told you, and then he's shifting through the prayers and trying to organize it and make sure this prayer is answered, but not this prayer doesn't go unanswered. It doesn't work like that. It's all energy, and it's all about knowing how to protect your prayers and push through the limitations or the dark forces so that your prayer is delivered where it needs to go. And so for some of us who know how to do that, we just know how to do it. It's really not fair for us to actually be doing that, because then our game of life would end too soon, and then the earth would not be the same, because our presence is here for a time, right? It's supposed to be here for a specific time, so that I channel my prayers into the collective. This work that I'm doing for the collective is much like prayers sent out. Okay, so I think I've explained that. So this consciousness doesn't belong to you. So once this source links are complete, your line to source is complete. When your line to source is complete, this is when you go back home. It's that simple, because you have already completed all of the links in the game, right? There would be, you've already done it, because we're living in multiple slits of time, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, all at the same time, right? We're downloading over here in this dimension and downloading in this dimension. And before you know it, your source line is complete. So that's actually when you make it home, guys. That's when you make it home. And all of what you thought that you owned, all of this knowledge, trust me, I love the knowledge I have. I could walk into a room with millionaires and billionaires, and I could still feel like the most valuable person in the room. It's because of my consciousness, my spirit consciousness, my ether. But it's not mine, because guess what? When I go back to source, all of this source line, all of the consciousness I've been collecting in this source line goes back to source for the great expansion of. You relinquish everything that you thought that you had, all of your knowledge, your beloved knowledge that you downloaded when you thought you owned it, that you downloaded it. Source's consciousness, you downloaded it. And yes, you were able to carry that for the millions or billions of years that you were in creation. And by the way, too, if you really want to go back home to source, you got to step out of creation. That's a whole nother thing, right? So you will truly no longer exist. That's another thing they don't tell you. Yeah, this is harder than what you could have ever thought that it was. Yep, absolutely. It's harder than what you ever thought that it was, because you truly will die. Once you complete the source line and you go back home, all of that consciousness you gather goes back to source for the great expansion. And you become what? I always talk about a dormant energy again. You become part of the dark matter, the consciousness in waiting, waiting to be downloaded again. You become the dark matter, waiting to be expressed again. This is what you become. So it's bittersweet. We're learning all these things, almost like the people in the factory setting are much better. Because the people that are truly, truly about to finish their source line, because they've collected so much consciousness in the, so much conscious links, they're about to hand this all over to source, and they will become ether once again. So brings me to the last thing I want to say is the grid workers. Source told me, this was about a month ago, Source told me you're a grid worker. And the people that are coming to you are grid workers. When everyone is asleep, we're doing our work in the ethers. Yes, in the astral realms, but we are in the ethers. We're in the darkness doing this. We're in the void because we are closer to source. We have more links in our source necklace, you would say, in our source line. We have more links. We are about to go home. And so people like us, we are literally here on like our last lifetime or second to last or something like that, 10th to last. But nevertheless, we got more lifetimes behind us than we do in front of us here on the Earth School. And we're working in the ethers. What that means is we are coding. We are creating consciousness. It's not that you creating it, but how source shows it to me now. Consciousness is turned over. And by the way, how source shows me consciousness, I know people see it different ways, but how source shows me, it looks like coal, like lumps of coal. And it's just dark, right? It's only until someone can receive it, when they have a level of awareness, that kind of dark matter or consciousness now turns over. Then the life sprouts out, all of the vibrancies, the colors, the codes of creation, the light codes, the DNA codes, all of that comes up, and this is what people are downloading, right? But it's almost just dormancy until you have the awareness to be able to activate it, right? To turn it over so that can now be expressed, right? Through you downloading the consciousness, right? So us grid workers are very important. We are knowing that the consciousness is about to be downloaded. So we're in there prepping this raw matter for it now to step into creation. It's in creation, but it's dormant. right? It's in creation, but it's not at the same time. It's interesting. That's how source shows me. It's not in if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, did it make a sound? That's the parallel that source gives to me. If someone is not downloading it, then does it actually really exist? Because we know that energy has to be in motion. So what I'm saying is, us grid workers, we're working in the ethers, we are priming the codes, the light codes, the DNA codes. We're getting them already because someone is about to download that. Once it's downloaded into the right person, then a physical change can take place. So we are down in the void, in the ethers working. We are literally saying, we are priming consciousness for the consciousness to now be downloaded and expressed. Once it's expressed, this is how change happens. So when you get this epiphany for a new technology that's going to heal the world, just know it was us grid workers that were priming that consciousness to now be expressed in this thing we call creation. So that now you could pick up the download and now you can bring it into physicality to help the earth grow and expand, to help the earth children grow and expand. So I just want to thank you to all of the grid workers out there, because we truly never sleep. We never sleep. Guys, I think this has been enough for today. I don't want to make this video too long, but guys, please pick up the Great Expansion of Cosmic Bible for the Ages. And thank you very much for allowing me to share with you spirit consciousness. This is one of my favorite things to talk about because it's just this is Source's teachings, really. And it excites me so much when I can absolutely talk about it, right? And yeah, I love you guys. The birds, the bees, and all of the trees, you know, they love you too. Love is the way, forgiveness is the key, and truth is the light that will always, always guide us home. Be well, guys. Bye.